You know, I don't have rules with close-ups. They're so important in that they help you grasp the fear itself. We have a fear of what we see, but when we see somebody experience the fear, we experience the fear that they feel.
What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Jordan Peele's work? Maybe it's his subtext about race and class, or maybe it's his ability to enrapture and unsettle you using little more than a silent stare. Jordan Peele's films have all been heavily anticipated, one of the rare times in modern horror where the director is a bigger draw than the film itself. Get Out and Us were whip-smart thrill rides loaded with social themes, but while Peele's scripts have been discussed up and down and inside out, he may actually still be underrated from a directing standpoint. He's done plenty to create his own cinematic language, but his most effective tool is one of the oldest and simplest in the book, a shot that can be beautiful or horrifying or anything in between. The close-up.
So how long has this been going on, this thing?
As famed superhero movie enthusiast Martin Scorsese once put it, cinema is a matter of what's in the frame and what's out. And during a close-up, what's in the frame is the most interesting and versatile canvas in the world, the human face. The close-up dates back to at least 1901. In an era when most silent films still had wide theatrical staging, early horror movies like 1920's The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari made effective use of close-ups to unnerve their audience. A few years later, the Universal monster movies would become iconic thanks in part to the way their ingeniously lit close-ups of vampires and other ghouls captured the imagination. However, a major early film that shares similarities with Peele's work isn't a horror movie at all, at least not in the traditional sense. Carl Theodor Dreyer's 1928 The Passion of Joan of Arc is a historical costume drama made up almost entirely of close-ups, and it remains iconic because of the intimate and painful way it captures Joan of Arc's desolation, like she's trapped by the four corners of the frame. This is also a key part of why the close-ups in Get Out are so effective.
You know, this is why horror is all about acting. It's all about acting. You need these performers that can put themselves into crazy scenarios and see things that aren't there.
While the larger metaphors in Get Out cast a wide net over race in modern America, it's first and foremost a story of black people's minds and bodies being trapped by whiteness. And, going a level deeper, it's about these characters experiencing the terror of helplessness and being unable to move. We don't just get hints of this terror when Rose's mother first hypnotizes Chris, but we also get an up-close and personal look at it when he's confronted by Betty Gabriel's Georgina, whose body, unbeknownst to the audience, plays host to Rose's grandmother, with part of the original person's consciousness still locked inside, begging to break free and warn Chris of the fate that awaits him.
Get out.
Sorry, man.
Okay. Get out!
Kaluuya, Gabriel, and Lakeith Stanfield are fantastic actors, and what makes their performances so unsettling is that they're constantly fighting for control of their own bodies and minds. But it's not just the close-ups in the movie's most explosive moments that make it tick. Sure, you have the sinister close-ups of Richard Armitage, framed with fire in his eyes, but Peele also makes sure to keep checking in with Chris as he builds his story, whether to capture the way Chris is already paralyzed by the past, or to simply highlight his reactions around Rose's home. Daniel Kaluuya is Peele's biggest asset, and his silent reactions are his secret weapon. You can watch the film on mute and trace the film's entire emotional journey on his face. In Us, Peele casts yet another powerhouse actor to guide us on this journey. Lupita Nyong'o plays not one but two characters, Addie and her tethered doppelganger, the Shadow. And while the film eventually reveals a switcheroo to hammer home its themes, its most impactful confrontation centers around Addie's fear of this creepy, monstrous version of herself, one so warped by pain that her voice and her emotions feel uncanny. Somehow, the Shadow leans towards the camera, playing with it and with us, like a predator toying with its prey. Addie, in contrast, is reluctant, trying to escape the alluring power of the frame, like she wants to get away from the movie and its premise, but the Shadow is keeping us all trapped within its confines. But see, a big part of why Peele's close-ups work isn't just that we're near the characters and forced to experience their intimate fears. It's also that we look them directly in the eye through head-on framing that forces us to connect with them on a deeper level.
your eye, man.
No conversation on discomforting close-ups would be complete without at least mentioning Stanley Kubrick. Kubrick's unbroken head-on stares feel like a blueprint for Peele's work, because in Kubrick's films, they're given even more weight than what a character is actually looking at. When Danny first comes across the twins in The Shining, we see them from afar, but we're anchored to his horrified expression. And in 2001, A Space Odyssey, Dave's close-up is the only tangible thing grounding us in most of the Stargate sequence. And as a bonus nod, something as simple as a head tilting forward can make a character seem more sinister, like a wild animal waiting to pounce. Head-on framing, where the character looks straight down the lens, can serve a different function depending on the genre. In more dramatic films, a director like Barry Jenkins might use eye contact to connect you with the character's longing. Whereas in horror, someone like Jonathan Demme might use a serial killer's unbroken gaze to make you feel on edge before cutting back to another character who feels just as unsettled as you do. Horror is about what you see or experience and how it makes you feel, but how you feel isn't something you can always neatly pick apart, which is why capturing a nuanced performance is so vital when exploring emotions you can't put into words. In Demme's work, like in Peele's, the horror is just as much about seeing as it is being seen, about people looking at you and through you, which is why these head-on close-ups are such important pieces to the puzzle. The close-ups in Peele's movies vary across his films, from terror to grief to concern to, well,
Black is in fashion.
but at key moments when information is revealed and Peele pulls on his story's threads, his focus remains fixed on the way this information unravels his subjects, often from within. Both Get Out and Us force characters to reflect on themselves through loss of autonomy and identity. When he zeroes in on these terrors, the characters are often bound or trapped. They want nothing more than to be able to move and to escape the shot they're in, but they can't. And we're forced to gaze at them up close in their most desperate and vulnerable moments. The camera almost turns back at the audience, trapping us in a similar way. We're also being seen, and maybe we could move if we wanted to, but there's some powerful, terrifying force on screen keeping us frozen in our seats, completely transfixed, stopping us from looking away.
I never stop thinking about you.
Thanks for watching, and for more terrifying close-ups of movies, be sure to subscribe to IGN Movies and TV for more Cinefix.